So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with 5 Night at Freedy. So let's start the series. Naruto Uzumaki has never heard anything as loud as the quiet. Not the quiet of an empty room. Hokage Tower was never really empty, but the quiet that filled the intervals between his breaths, the pauses between reports, and the long evenings when the lights in the hamlet below his window twinkled like stars that had forgotten how to shine. The quiet of serenity was eating him alive. He looked out over Konoha and said to himself, "Another perfect day." The rebuilding after the Fourth War was done. Buildings were taller and streets were wider. The kids in the academy yards laughed, and the sound of their laughter carried on a breeze that smelled like fresh paint and flowering cherry blossoms. It was everything he had worked for. Everything they had all killed for. So why did it seem like a cage with lovely paintings on it? A gentle knock broke into his thoughts. "Come in." Kakashi Hatake came in through the entrance. He was still wearing his Hokage robe, even though he had given the title to Naruto years before. He had 2 hot cups of tea, and his only visible eye crinkled in a smile that didn't quite reach the tired corners of his mouth. "Working late again," Kakashi commented as he set a cup down on the desk. "You know you can wait until morning to read Shikamaru's reports." Naruto ran his fingers over his spiky blonde hair. "Yeah, I know. It's just that there's not much else to do." Kakashi sat down across from him. "Not much else to do? Naruto, you're the Hokage. There are always treaties to review, infrastructure projects to approve, and diplomatic." Naruto cut in. "I know what my job is, Kakashi-sensei." His voice was gentler than he had planned. He stared down at his hands, which had flung Raisengans, made seals that changed the course of history, and dragged Sasuke back from the brink. Now they usually had pens. "It's just not the same." "What do you mean by different?" Naruto got up and walked to the window. During the war, everything was clear. There was an enemy. A goal. Protect everyone. Save everyone. He put his forehead on the cool glass. Now the problems are about trade routes, zoning laws, and which clan gets which piece of land for their new compound. Everyone is happy and safe, and I should be too. But you're not. It feels like... Naruto looked for the right words. When you finish a long, hard workout and you're sweating and sore, it feels good to rest at first. But then your muscles get cold, and you start to feel empty. For a long time, Kakashi was quiet. "Do you miss the fighting?" "No." Naruto whirled around, his blue eyes angry. "Never. I don't miss people dying. I don't miss watching friends fall. I don't miss being scared." He stared out the window again. "I miss having a purpose. The kind where you know exactly what you need to do, even if it's hard or could kill you." Kakashi replied in a low voice. "Peace has a different weight than war. But you still chose to carry it." Naruto nodded. He was aware of that. He understood that in his mind. But in his heart, there was a soft sound. It had begun weeks ago, as a weak, almost undetectable tingling at the border of his mind. At first, he believed it was just being tired or maybe Kurama moving around in his sleep. But the Nine Tails had been unusually quiet since the conflict, as if they had both come to terms with their true relationship. But this murmur, Kurama wasn't it. It was like listening to a conversation via a thick wall. Muffled. Far away. But it keeps going. And it brought with it a feeling, a certain, familiar sense that made his gut tighten. Pain. Not hurting physically. Not the acute, clear pain of a cut. This was something different. The hurt of being forgotten. The anguish of being stuck. The pain of waiting forever. "Kakashi-sensei." Naruto muttered all of a sudden, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you ever hear things?" Kakashi raised one eyebrow. "Listen up?" "Not with your ears. With..." Naruto patted his chest. "Here. Echoes." Kakashi's face got serious. He put down his tea. "What kind of echoes?" Naruto shut his eyes. "Do you remember when we were cleaning up the battlefield after the war and found that little doll that belonged to one of the samurai's kids?" "I remember." Naruto murmured. "I held it." His voice tight. "And for a moment I could feel, not the person who died, but the love they had. The connection that was broken." He opened his eyes. "I think it's because of all the people I met during the war. All the chakra links. All the bonds. Sometimes I feel like I'm still connected to everything." Kakashi got up and went to the window with him. The Otsutsuki clan talked about a universal consciousness, a network of chakra that links all living things. Hagoromo also believed in it. Naruto remarked. "But this isn't living things. This is something else. It's not supposed to be here. It's like a splinter in the universe. Kakashi looked really worried for the first time. Did you talk to Sakura or Tsunade about this? Naruto shook his head. They'd say it's stress or trauma. And maybe it is. He looked at his old sensei. But what if it's not? What if there's someone out there somewhere who's hurting? And what if I'm the only one who can hear them? The question hung in the air between them, full of meaning. Kakashi murmured softly. You're the Hokage, Naruto. Your duty is here. I know that. Naruto's voice broke. But what about my duty as Naruto Uzumaki? The guy who never breaks his word? The guy who saves his friends? What if my friend isn't in this village? What if they're not even in this dimension? He couldn't stop the word from coming out. Kakashi's eyes got a little bigger. Dimension. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. No, Kakashi said, holding up a hand. Stay here. He left the office and came back a few minutes later with a sealed scroll case. The surface of the case was covered in strange symbols that looked like they were moving in the light of the lamp. Naruto asked. What is that? After the war, Kakashi said, opening the case with a complicated series of hand signs. We got a lot of Otsutsuki technology and research back from Kagaya's dimensions. Most of it was too dangerous and unstable. We locked it away in the forbidden archives. He pulled out a single scroll, which was yellowed with age even though it had only been a few years. This was one of them. It's broken and not finished. Naruto got the scroll. When his fingers touched it, he felt a jolt, not from electricity but from something deeper. A sound that echoes. The whisper in his head got louder and clearer. Please help us. There was a chorus of voices. Voices of kids, one on top of the other, with static at the edges. It aches. We're afraid. The party goes on forever. Naruto fell back and dropped the scroll. When it hit the floor, it half opened up and showed schematics that made no sense, circles inside circles, angles that hurt to look at, and equations that seemed to explain not space, but the spaces between places. Naruto? Kakashi was next to him, holding him firmly. Naruto gasped. They're kids! And his breath came in short pants. Somewhere dark, they're stuck. Somewhere with music, but it's not right. It's all wrong. For the first time in months, Kurama moved inside him. Brat. What is that? You feel it too? Naruto thought about it. I feel a tear. In the fabric of everything. And through it, pain. Suffering from the past. The kind that goes bad and rots. Kakashi was looking at the scroll. This looks like a theoretical study on dimensional anomalies, or weak spots between realities. The Otsutsuki used them to move between worlds. But these notes say that sometimes these weak spots rupture. On their own. Usually where there's a lot of strong emotional energy. Like pain, Naruto said in a low voice. Like a lot of pain in one place, Kakashi said, his face serious. Naruto, this is too much for us. We need to call the elders together and bring in Shikamaru and Sasuke. No time, Naruto answered, looking at the scroll. The diagram started to glow with a weak, sickly purple light as he looked. The air in the office got thick and heavy. It got colder. He's on his way. He always comes back. We can't get up. The chorus was suddenly louder and more desperate. Naruto could sense their terror as if it were real. His spine felt cold, and his chest felt heavy. Seal it! Kakashi exclaimed, using his hands to make gestures. We need to keep. But it was too late. The scroll burst into light. It wasn't the warm, golden glow of chakra. It was a jagged, angry purple that ripped through the air. The window behind them cracked and then broke outward, but the fragments didn't fall. Instead, they hung in the air, vibrating at a frequency that made Naruto's teeth hurt. A hole was starting to appear in the middle of the light. Not a hole in the wall, but a hole in the real world. Naruto observed bits of it. A dark hallway with ugly, peeling posters on the walls. A huge, fractured rabbit head with one eye hanging by a wire. A single, clean white glove on the floor, with something dark on it. And the smell, old pizza, ozone, mold, and under it all, the coppery taste of ancient blood. The chorus yelled. He's here. Don't let him find you. Get out of sight. Naruto remarked. Kakashi-sensei. His voice strangely quiet. Say to Hinata. I love you. Say to Boruto and Himawari. Your dad is going to help some people. Don't do it, Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki had already made up his mind, though. Years ago, on a bridge in the land of waves, I saw a mist monster. In the Valley of the End, they reached for Sasuke's hand. Facing a goddess in the battlefield. It was always the same choice. Someone was in pain. Someone needs aid. He walked toward the tear. The world turned into noise, light, and screaming, both the children's and his own, as reality fell apart around him. He could feel Kurama roaring inside of him, and a golden chakra burst out around him like a protecting garment. He could feel Kakashi's hand reach for his shoulder, but it missed by a few inches. He was going down. Not down, but through. Across layers of reality, across different dimensions, and through the intervals between seconds. Pictures flashed. A man in a yellow suit with a big smile. A birthday cake with candles that never went out. I will put you back together, is a promise. A failure. I'm sorry. And then the effect. Not with the ground, but with an atmosphere so heavy with sadness that it was like breathing syrup. Naruto fell to the ground, which was sticky with something he didn't want to know what it was. His chakra cloak flickered and went out, like a candle in a vacuum. He pushed himself up and started to cough. His senses were too much for him to handle after years of training and Kurama's influence. The smell hit him first. It was the same mix of decay and fake sweetness, but 1,000 times stronger. Then there were the sounds, a deep, mechanical hum that shook his bones, a distant, off-key music box tune, and the sound of water dripping from somewhere in the dark. And the view. He stood amid what seemed like the remnants of a carnival from a bad dream. In the dark, there were huge, broken statues of cartoon animals. A carousel was stuck in the middle of its revolution, and the painted horses had cracks that appeared like lips screaming. The red light from the emergency exit signs painted the world in shades of blood and shadow. Where? Naruto started, but the huge, ravenous quiet absorbed his words. Kurama's voice in his head was strained. This location. It's over. But it's not empty. The chakra here. It's not right. Not thick. Muffled. Like it's being put through something else. Naruto tried to make a shadow clone. The hand signs felt slow and inappropriate. One clone appeared, but it was weak and see-through. It lasted 3 seconds before turning into mist. My chakra. Kurama stated it wasn't gone. People are fighting it. There are distinct rules in this world. We are guests here. Not wanted ones. Naruto drew a hesitant breath. He was the Hokage for the 7th time. He had fought gods and prevailed. He could deal with this. A gentle giggle resonated through the broken buildings. Very high. Like a child. But that's not right. Too much rhythm. Too fake. It came from above. Naruto looked up. Something moved in the splintered rafters. Not a living thing. Something having long, slender arms and legs that bent in too many places. It ran across a beam, and its head turned 180 degrees to look down at him with bright red eyes. Then it fell. When the monster fell where Naruto had been standing, he rolled to the side. It was an animatronic figure that looked like a jester and had a sun and moon theme. One side of its face was painted yellow and was shining. The other was black, with a crescent moon and a blue eye that looked frigid. Its body was made up of parts that clicked together when it moved. Naughty, naughty. It sung in a voice that changed from happy to scary in the middle of a syllable. Get out of bed after hours. You're breaking the rules. You must be punished. It lunged. Naruto avoided again, although not as quickly as he should have. The thing's long, jointed claws scraped his arm and ripped through his Hokage robe. Not with force, but with a peculiar, static energy that made his muscles freeze. He couldn't fight here. Not this way. He ran. Through hallways full with busted arcade machines, their displays flickered with static ghosts. Past food counters where plastic pizza sat under a thick layer of dust. Down escalators that had turned into metal waterfalls with broken steps. The monster chased him, laughing and singing bits of nursery rhymes. Little lamb, lost. He found his way to the slaughter. Time for bed, little lamb. Time for a nap. Naruto kicked open a pair of double doors and stepped into a huge room, the main atrium. There was a huge, 3-tiered cake in the middle that was falling apart and covered in graffiti. And the main attractions were on stages all around it. 4 huge animatronics. A bear wearing a top hat and bow tie, with a nice smile on its face that didn't reach its dead eyes. A rabbit with large ears, one of which was shattered, showing sharp metal underneath. A chicken with a bib that said, "Let's eat!" and an open beak. A fox with a cunning smile and a pirate's eye patch, but the eye under it was dark and empty. They were quiet. Not alive. But Naruto could feel them. The hurt. The pain. The spirits trapped inside each metal shell, screaming. It was emanating from them. The chorus. The kids. Please help us. It's dark. We can't get up. The jester thing came to a stop behind him, but it didn't go inside the atrium. It stayed at the door, its head twitching. Not my area! Not my area! The others don't like to share. Bad boy. You'll get yours. It went back into the blackness, still laughing. Naruto was by himself, in the presence of the 4 huge animatronics, who were quiet and watching. He went up to the bear, which was the closest. The old sign on its stage says Freddy Fazbear. The devastation was greater up close. Its case has cracks. There were stains that could have been soda or something else. There was a break in one of its eyes that looked like a jagged tear. Naruto put out his hand. Not to fight. To touch. His fingers brushed across the cool metal of its paw. The vision hit him like a punch in the face. Asterisk a celebration for your birthday. Lights that are bright. Kids are laughing. He's inside the outfit and doing his job. Glad? This is what he was meant to do. To make others happy. Then came the pain. Sharp. In his back. Something was moving inside him. Little. Having a hard time. Voices in his head that are new. Weeping. Calling for mothers who will never come. Blood in the joints. Stiffness. It's harder to make the smiles. The tunes have a coppery flavor. Years. 4 decades. The party goes on forever. The kids never go away. In his dreams, they cry. When he wakes up, they wail. He is their tomb and their protector, but he doesn't know how to do either. A single, clear notion, not from the kids, but from the machine's original essence, which had been worn down to a whisper. Please, just make it stop. Naruto staggered back and gasped. He cried not out of fear, but because he was so sad about what had just happened. 4 decades. Stuck. Recycling. Kurama didn't say anything for a long time. Then, in a hushed voice. They're not just machines. And they don't just have them. They are tombstones. Graves that are alive. Naruto wiped his eyes. He looked at the other animatronics, the fox, the chicken, and the rabbit. Each one had the same sad story. The same soul stuck. This wasn't a job. There was no need to fight off an invasion or defeat a villain. This was a rescue mission. The voice in his head came back, but it was different this time. More clear. Directed toward him. You heard us. You came. Can you please wake us up? Naruto Uzumaki stood in the rubble of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex, feeling lost and powerless against an adversary he didn't understand. He smiled. For the first time in months, a real smile. Yeah, he replied out loud, and his voice echoed in the empty atrium. I'm here, and I'm going to help you. That's a promise. In a sealed room deep in the complex that hadn't been accessed in decades, a set of brilliant, evil eyes came to life. A voice full of static and evil murmured into the dark. New meat. After all these years, the celebration had a new attendee. William Afton always liked being in front of people. Naruto's remark rang throughout the huge atrium, and the heavy stillness that followed slowly swallowed it. The animatronics on their stages didn't move, but the air surrounding them felt heavier, like it was full of the weight of his promise. The vision of the birthday celebration, the acute, intrusive anguish, and the chorus of trapped crying still echoed in his bones, a discordant hum beneath his own heartbeat. In his head, Kurama's voice sounded like a hoarse growl. You don't even realize what you're promising, kid. You can't talk to the stale beast. This is rust. Corrosion that goes deep into the soul. Kurama, Naruto thought back, his eyes on Freddy's broken eye. Kids are afraid. That's all I need to know. The fox corrected them, saying they were kids, and there was a hint of sadness in his voice. They're now a part of the machine. The line is not clear. To release them, you might have to break what's left of them completely. Naruto put the idea out of his mind. He needed to get going. There was only one way out of the atrium, and that was the way he had come in. The jester thing, sun and moon, his brain told him from a flash of the vision, was probably still there. The other paths were barred by fallen rubble or security shutters that had rusted shut for good. But there was a service hallway behind Freddy's stage, and the door was slightly open, making the shadow look much darker. He moved silently, with his senses on high alert. His chakra was still there, a warm pool in his stomach, but it was hard to use it, like trying to breathe through damp fabric. It didn't answer quickly, and it leaked out into the air, where it seemed to disappear, consumed by the strange energy of this place. He was able to make a small glow around his palm that was strong enough to push back the smothering blackness a few feet in front of him. The service hallway was a claustrophobic labyrinth of pipes and conduits, dripping with humidity that smelled of rust and mildew. Graffiti scarred the walls, crude sketches of the animatronics, desperate warnings. "They see in the dark," and repeated, wobbly lines like, "He always comes back." Naruto's light went over them, each one a monument to a long, hopeless battle against the horrors of this place. The hallway branched. To the left, a weak, lively tune played from a faulty speaker, twisted and slow. To the right, only silence, and a cold air that carried a faint, sweet chemical odor, like cleaning supplies and something rotting. "Left is a trap," Kurama rumbled. "Too obvious." "Right it is," Naruto agreed. The right-hand corridor slanted downward, the floor shifting from tile to concrete. The pipes here were larger, throbbing with a distant, mechanical heartbeat, the building's failing life support. He passed massive metal doors labeled "Parts and Service" and "Ventilation Control." Both were sealed with heavy-duty electronic locks, their keypads dark. Then he saw the light. A faint, hazy glow flowed from an open doorway at the end of the hall. Not the harsh red of exit signs, rather a warm, welcoming gold. It was so absolutely out of place it set every nerve on edge. Approaching silently, he glanced inside. It was a repair room, or had been. Workbenches were cluttered with tools, spare parts, eyes, fingers, endoskeleton jaws. But in the center of the room, basking in the glow of a solitary, functional vintage floor lamp, was an animatronic. It was a rabbit, but unlike the clean, cartoonish Bonnie on stage. This one was a deeper purple, its design older, simpler. It sat slumped in a repair chair, one long ear completely missing, the other dangling on internal wires. Its chest casing was open, showing a cavernous interior and a sophisticated, rusty endoskeleton within. Its face was turned down, as if in sleep or deactivation. One of its arms lay on the floor alongside the chair, the hand still clothed in a white glove. This was the broken form of Glamrock Bonnie. Naruto didn't hear any chorus in this one. No pain in layers. There was only a deep, empty silence and a sadness that seemed to come from the metal itself. He went inside. "Hello?" No answer. The room was quiet. He moved closer slowly. The devastation was terrible up close. Not simply normal wear and tear, but violent tearing apart. There were deep cuts on its body. It has another arm that was bent back at the elbow. This wasn't a mistake. This was a murder. Kurama noticed that it was vacant. A shell. But when Naruto went down to look at the severed limb, the air filled with a crackling sound. The servos made a horrible grinding noise as the rabbit's head jerked up. Its eyes blinked, and a dim red light swam in the plastic orbs before fading to a dull glow. It wasn't staring at him. It was looking right through him. A twisted and fractured sound came from its voice box. "Happy birthday to you." The voice was a low, sad baritone that sounded like it hadn't been used in a long time. It summed one phrase and then stopped. The head fell again. Naruto's heart hurt. There was no threat here. This was an old thing, a broken record of a time that was long gone. He remembered how the community felt after Pain's attack, the deafening hush of grief. This was that silence made real. He leaned out, no longer afraid. His fingers brushed against Bonnie's chilly metal shoulder. This time, there was no violent vision. Just echoes. Faint memories of the warmth of the spotlight, the sound of a bass guitar string vibrating, the clamor of an audience, real to it, but not real, and the pride of a performance that went well. Then there was a whirl of green, wrath, the sound of metal shredding, and ultimately, the deep, peaceful dark. This animatronic didn't have any missing kids inside. It had its own spirit and basic mind, and one of its own killed it. "I'm sorry," Naruto said softly, but the words didn't seem enough. He looked at the tools that were on the bench. He felt a peculiar, not Hokage-like urge. He wasn't able to mend the souls yet. But he might be able to remedy this. "Okay," he replied to the room that was quiet. "Let's see what we can come up with." Naruto Uzumaki, the 7th Hokage and Kagaya's killer, worked as a mechanic for the next hour. He didn't utilize his limited chakra for fighting. Instead, he used it to be precise. For example, he used a strand of chakra to guide him, while he threaded tiny wires and a little heating technique to soften and reconstruct a cracked plastic joint. He was really focused, like he was during Rasengan training. He carefully twisted the cables together to reattach the ear that was hanging off. He moved the arm back into place in the chair, but he couldn't put it back on without the right tools. He saw it while he was trying to clean the dirt off of Bonnie's faceplate. There was something in the open chest chamber that didn't belong. It was stuck between the rusty struts of the endoskeleton. A little, faded piece of colored paper that was delicately pushed into a beam. He pulled it out. It was a crayon sketch by a child. There was a happy purple bunny playing guitar on a stage with stars. To Bonnie, my best friend. Love, G. Was written in shaky characters at the bottom. As soon as his fingers contacted the paper, he heard a distinct kind of echo. Not hurting. Not scary. Pure, straightforward happiness. A tiny girl loves her favorite character more than anything else. It was like a sunbeam in the awful darkness of the Pizzaplex, a recollection that was so brilliant and warm. And from the collapsed animatronic, a faint pulse that answered. A flash in the lighting of the eye. Kurama thought at the drawing and said, "It's a focus," sounding interested despite himself. "A real memory. It still has some of its original purpose. The happiness it was supposed to bring." Naruto gently put the drawing back where it belonged, making sure it was safe. "That's your heart, isn't it?" he murmured softly to Bonnie. "This, not the endoskeleton." He did the best he could to finish his assignment. He couldn't get Bonnie back online, but he could still pay it respect. He put the arm that wasn't attached to his body on his lap. He cleaned the dust off of its face. He stepped back. The rabbit sat in the light of the lamp, broken yet loved. Now, the silence was different. Not as vacant. More calm. A new sound made Naruto stop. Not laughing. Not music. A slow, hard thump with a beat. Thump. Thump. It came from the hallway outside. A big thing. Something that walks slowly and carefully. "Hide," Kurama said sharply. Naruto turned off his chakra light and slipped into the dark spot behind a tall parts cabinet, just as the monster in the corridor got to the open door. It took up the whole entryway. Big, with broad shoulders, and standing out against the faint light in the hall. It walked into the repair room, and the golden light from the bulb showed it. Montgomery Gorg, Glamrock. When you got up close, the alligator animatronic was much bigger. His green, scaled case has scratches and scuffs on it. His hair was crazy orange. His snout was always snarling, showing off sharp plastic teeth. Naruto's attention was drawn to his eyes, though. The eyes weren't dead and painted like those of the stage animatronics. They gleamed with a faint, evil purple light and looked around the room with the slow, careful stare of a predator. He stomped toward the middle of the room, making the tools on the benches shake. He stood in front of Bonnie's chair. Monty just stared at the broken rabbit for a long time. He then put out a huge, three-fingered hand and let forth a low, guttural growl that sounded like a mix of static and reptilian anger. Naruto got anxious and ready to jump. Was he going to ruin it even more? But Monty didn't hit. His hand was above Bonnie's head. His purple eyes flashed, fighting with a quick flash of his usual green. His voice box made a lot of different sounds, like a snarl, a short bass riff, and a word that sounded like stage. The purple light then stopped moving and got brighter. The time of whatever that was over. Monty's fist clenched. He turned his head and looked around the room again. He smelled the air, which is a very human thing for a machine to do. He had smelled it. Not Naruto, but his chakra. Of the newness. Monty moved closer to the parts cabinet. Naruto thought about it. He couldn't fight, not in this small place where his chakra was blocked. He had to run. But the door was blocked. Monty's shadow fell on him. "Now, kid!" Naruto jumped out of his hiding place, but not toward the entrance. Instead, he jumped toward the workbench. He picked up a heavy torque wrench, and when Monty lunged at him with startling quickness, he didn't aim for the body. He flung the wrench at the floor lamp like a shuriken. The light bulb broke with a loud bang and a shower of glass. In an instant, it was black. Monty roared, a sound of pure, angry wrath. His purple eyes sliced through the gloom and looked around excitedly. Naruto was already on the move, not with shunshin but with true shinobi stealth, blending in with the shadows. He walked quietly past the confused animatronic, his footsteps making no noise on the concrete. He was almost at the door when he kicked a loose screwdriver. It skittered across the floor with a sound like metal. The purple eyes turned to look at the sound. Monty charged like a bulldozer made of metal and rage. Naruto jumped into the hallway, rolled, and got up running. Monty burst through the door behind him, ripping the frame apart in his anger. "Left," Kurama barked. Naruto chose the left fork, which had music that sounded wrong. There were doors to private party rooms along the hallway. Each one was a frozen scene of celebration, with deflated balloons, moldy tables, and cake boxes that had turned to muck. The happy song got louder and louder, coming from a room at the end. He took a chance and looked back. Monty was getting ahead, and his heavy steps were surprisingly quick in a straight line. The door of the music room was open. Naruto burst in and slammed the door shut behind him. There was no lock on it. The room was a Fazbear fantasy suite, and it looked like a castle. There was a big, fancy music box in the middle with its lid open. The little figures of Freddie and his friends inside spun around in a jerky, broken dance to the warped music. He had to block the door. He picked up a heavy plastic throne and had to work hard to do so. His muscles, which were used to chakra enhancement, felt very human. The music stopped just as he was pulling it toward the door. The handle on the door started to turn. Not from the outside. From the inside. As the door opened silently, Naruto dropped the throne and stepped back. No one was there. Then he looked down. There was a small animatronic in the doorway that was no taller than his waist. It looked like Freddie, but it was stitched together and looked like a doll. The buttons on its eyes were black. In one hand, it held a small, sharp-looking knife for serving. It turned its head up to look at him. A happy child's voice on tape said, "Do you want some cake?" It moved ahead. Then one more. It moved quietly and smoothly, which was very unsettling. No thanks," Naruto said as he moved back. The thing's smile looked like it got bigger. "But everyone likes cake." It lunged, a quick, deadly movement. Naruto moved to the side, and the little robot stuck its knife into the wall where his leg had been. It pulled it free with a scrape of plastic on drywall and turned, its button eyes fixed on him. "It's quick," Naruto thought, and he was really surprised. He avoided another blow, and then another. It was pushing him into a corner. Monty's fist hit the door hard from the outside, shaking the whole frame. Caught between a crazy doll and an angry gator. Naruto felt a smile that he knew well pull at his lips. This was crazy. This couldn't be done. This was like it used to be. He stopped going back. Naruto didn't get out of the way when the mini Freddy jumped for his throat. He sank down low, and his leg hit its little ankles. The kick wasn't increased by chakra, but it was precisely timed. The animatronic fell to the ground. Naruto grabbed a nearby scepter, which was only a cheap plastic prop, and pushed it down, pinning the thing's knife arm to the floor. With his other hand, he stretched out and carefully pulled the battery compartment door open on the back. He took out the AA batteries. The little Freddy became limp, and its button eyes went dark. The banging on the door ceased. "Be quiet." Naruto carefully walked up to the door and looked through the crack. There was no one in the hallway. There was no Monty. He took a deep, nervous breath. The adrenaline was wearing off, and now I was tired. He leaned against the wall and slid down to sit on the dirty floor. He looked at the toy that was turned off in the middle of the room, then at his own hands, which were still shaking a little. He lived in a world of broken dreams and scary machines. His power was limited. No one knew what the rules were. But he had promised. To the kids who used the devices. To the rabbit that was broken under the light of the lamp. And to himself. Kurama's voice sounded lower now. "You took care of the pest. But the larger one was different. The light that was purple. The agony wasn't the same as the others. It was an illness. A deliberate corruption." "Someone is in charge of them?" Naruto asked. Kurama corrected. "Not controlling. Poisoning. Giving them more anger, jealousy, and basic instincts that are already in their programming. Making them meaner." Naruto felt a chilly conviction in his gut. There was a brain here. A smart, vicious mind is behind the mess. The voice in his head said, "He always comes back." He got up. He couldn't stay here. He had to have it. He needed a map, a plan, and some background information. He had to find the center of this place. And he had to do it before whatever had poisoned Monty found him again. He exited the party area and went back into the scary passageways. The warped music box tune started playing again, as if it were on a loop. The Pizzaplex saw him go. Things moved in the ruins, pulled in by the sound of living warmth, by the smell of optimism in a place that had lost the term. The game had started, and Naruto Uzumaki was the newest player to join. Exhaustion was a heavy coat. Naruto walked through the service hallways like a tired, quiet shinobi after a 3-day incursion. The fight with Monty and the mini Freddy had taught him a hard lesson. This place was full with dangers, each with its own set of laws. He recognized some rules, such chakra, taijutsu, and tactical retreat, but they didn't all apply. The environment here was as much mental as it was physical, and the enemies were motivated by broken programming and old pain, not war strategy. He needed a safe place. A place to ponder, make plans, and relax without the continual, prickling feeling of bright eyes watching him in the dark. A sign that was half lit by a flickering light pointed down a side street, Superstar Daycare. The name brought to mind brilliant colors, joy, and safety. It was a sharp, almost mocking difference from all else he had seen. But that was a way to go. He did what it said. The hallway led to a big entry hall. The walls were covered in big, happy murals of a sun and moon character. A big door that looked like a vault was locked shut, and a keycard scanner next to it was lighting red. Not useful. There was, however, another way. A network of fiberglass tubes and slides that kids could crawl through ran along the ceiling high up. One of these tunnels featured a hatch that was broken and hanging open like a lost tooth. It was a tight fit, even for him, but it was a way in. He sprang, grabbed the edge, and pulled himself inside the plastic tube with a grunt of effort. The scent of old plastic and dust made it feel cramped. He crawled forward, and the tunnel creaked under his weight until it dropped him unceremoniously onto a padded floor. He rose up, and he couldn't breathe. The Superstar Daycare was a church of fake happiness. It was huge, with a huge, domed ceiling decorated with a cartoon galaxy that covered a whole biosphere. There were big play constructions like castles, pirate ships, and rocket ships that rose up from a sea of colorful cushion mats. The ball pits sparkled like lakes full of plastic pearls. But it was all stuck in time. There was confetti all over the place, but it was gray with dust. The brightly colored balls were either flat or covered in a fine black mold. The air was warm and calm, and it smelled like sweets and disinfection. And it was quiet. Strangely, there was no sound. "Hello?" Naruto yelled, but the huge expanse drowned his voice. A noise. A mellow, repetitive sound of bells. Like bells. A figure came out from behind a big play structure that looked like a crescent moon. It was very tall, maybe 7 feet, and very thin. It looked like a jester, except it was split in half. The right side was a bright, happy yellow with a sun face that didn't move. The left side was a deep, chilly blue with a crescent moon face that seemed like it was sleeping. It had a ruffled, two-tone suit on with bells hanging from its wrists and ankles. It had long, slender fingers that were bent like a puppet's. This was the person who worked in the daycare. The creature that was up there. It stopped a dozen feet away, with its sun face angled and its painted smile still. It moved in a peculiar, beautiful way that looked like a pantomime. "You're new," it stated in a high, happy, but strangely strained tenor voice. It made a quiet clack-clack sound when it clapped its hands. "New friend. New friend. But it's after hours. Very after hours. Rules are rules. The lights have to stay on so friends can play safely." It waved its arms about the daycare a lot. Naruto saw the big, industrial light switches on the wall across the room. Naruto answered, "I just need a place to rest." And his voice was calm and not threatening. He raised his hands and opened his palms. "I don't want to hurt you." "No harm? No harm?" The attendant took a step closer, its head jerking. "Sun sees everything. Sun makes sure the rules are followed. Bad kids hide in the dark. They try to sneak and cheat. But Sun sees. Did you turn off the lights? You can't turn off the lights." It spoke quickly, with a frenzied energy that made it feel like it was about to lose control. Naruto said, "I didn't touch any lights. Naruto is my name. What's yours?" The inquiry seemed to make the robot stop for a moment. It stood up straight and put its hands on its hips, looking proud and in charge. "I'm the daycare attendant. But you can call me Sun. It's my time to watch. To play. To make sure everyone has fun." The last phrase was shouted so loudly that it echoed in the dome. "Okay, Sun," Naruto murmured as he slowly moved closer. "It's nice to meet you. This is a big place. Do you run it all by yourself?" "Oh no no no," Sun said with a laugh that sounded like bells ringing. "There's Mooney. But it's not his time. When the lights go out, it's Mooney's time. And Mooney isn't good with new friends. He's the rule enforcer. He's not as friendly as Sun." Sun leaned in like it was a secret, and its faceplate made a faint whirring sound. "He throws a fit when the lights are on, so we keep them on for safety and fun." Naruto was starting to get it. A split personality that is caused by the status of the surroundings. Sun was the day, and it was a mix of chaos and order. The moon was the night, the penalty, and the law. It was a terrifyingly sophisticated way to control people, all wrapped up in a children's entertainer. Naruto said, "I can help." It was something that came naturally. He saw not just a machine, but a person stuck in a loop. "You look stressed. It must be hard to keep an eye on everything by yourself." The sun stopped. Its smile never changed, yet the way it moved changed. The crazy adrenaline faded, and a gradual slump spread through the whole body. The bells on its wrists made a sorrowful little sound. "Hard?" Sun's voice got very low. The kids, they don't come anymore. The party stopped. The music stopped. But the rules didn't stop. Sun still has to watch, clean up, and be ready. But ready for what? It started to walk about, taking large strides that made the padded floor shake. The others don't come to see me. Freddie is too sad, Monty is too angry, Roxy is too loud in her own head, Chica just eats, and the new ones in the walls whisper bad things. They say he is coming back, and Sun doesn't like him. Naruto's heart raced. Who is he, Sun? Sun stopped walking and hugged itself. It was such a deeply human act that it broke my heart. The man behind the smile. The one who came before. He made the rules first. His rules were different. They hurt. He took the little friends away. And then, the little friends came back. But they were inside the big friends. And they were crying. Sun could hear them crying through the walls. The chorus. The kids who are missing. Sun knew. Not the specifics, but the horrible truth. Sun tried to make them feel better, Sun said again, this time with a desperate tone. Sun sang louder and made bigger crafts, but the crying just got quieter. Then it became part of the music, and then the big friends stopped coming to the daycare too. It was too sad and too heavy. It turned its whole face toward Naruto. You're not sad. You're not heavy. You're warm. You're different. Are you here to change the rules? The question was so sad and hopeful that it hit Naruto harder than any attack. This thing, this collection of code and leftover energy, was holding on to its main job, to care for and entertain. But in a world that had turned that job into a cruel joke, it was still holding on. It was like he had been, an orphan with no purpose. I'm here to help, Naruto said with complete confidence. I want to fix it, but I need to know more. Can you tell me more about the man and where the crying is coming from? Sun opened its mouth to say something. Then all the lights in the superstar daycare went out. The darkness was complete, like a heavy weight. The happy galaxy above disappeared. There was just the weak, sickly purple glow of an exit sign over the shut door to light the way. The sound of jingling stopped. A new noise started. An electrical hum that is low and resonant. It sounded like a deep freezer or an engine that was turned off starting up. Two icy blue lights lit up in the dark from the exact place where Sun had been standing. Rules, a voice said. It was the exact reverse of Sun's happy tenor, a low, silky, digitally purring baritone that dripped with calm danger. Are meant to be broken, so they must be enforced. The moon was up. Naruto stepped back, and his eyes had a hard time adjusting. He could almost see the shadow. The body was still thin, but the way it was standing was different. The moon face was gleaming with that beautiful blue light, and it looked like it was slouching and hunting. Moon said, "You are not a child." And his head tilted with a quiet click. "You're an intruder. The first rule is not to trespass." Naruto changed his attitude and added, "I'm not trespassing. Sun told me to come in." Sun is naive. Sun believes in fun. Moon took a step forward without saying anything. There was no noise when his feet hit the matting. Moon believes in order. The order is, play during the day. Sleep at night. You are awake during sleep time. This is a violation. Violations require nap time. The last word was a whisper that sounded like it came from very next to Naruto's ear. He pulled away, but Moon was still standing 10 feet away. An auditory hallucination? A trick of the space? The moon shifted. Not with Sun's quick steps, but with a scary, smooth glide. He went into the dark parts of a play structure. Naruto turned around to try to find him. The blue lights went off. Be quiet. Then, from immediately above, a sweet lullaby started to play from the speaker in Moon's chest. In context, it was pleasant, calming, and completely terrifying. Stars shine, moonbeams dream, close your eyes, little one. A rope with a crescent moon hook on the end burst out of the blackness from Naruto's left. He ducked, and it zipped past his head and back. This wasn't a struggle of strength. There was terror and stealth in the game. In his dark world, Moon was the hunter. Naruto reached for his chakra. He needed some light. He made the hand sign for the fire release, great fireball technique, but the chakra sputtered and died in his throat, leaving behind only a sad cloud of smoke and a spark. The world fought back against him. Moon laughed, and it sounded like a frigid, static sound. No lights allowed. It's against the rules. A second rope shot came from the right. Naruto jumped back into a ball pit. He fell into the sea of plastic balls, and the noise was deafening. Not a good idea. The lullaby came to an end. When Moon landed on the edge of the abyss, he heard a soft plink of a bell. The blue eyes looked down at him. Found you. Naruto blew up and sent balls flying like a geyser. He didn't shoot at the moon. He climbed up the side of the rocket ship, which was the closest place structure, using plastic rivets and handholds to get a grip. Moon followed, but instead of climbing, she swung. He threw his hook rope, hooked a beam high in the ceiling, and zipped up like a spider. He landed on the platform across from Naruto, blocking the way out of the slide. "Bad kids," Moon said in a soft voice. "Get time out." He lunged. His fingers weren't like Monty's claws, but they were pointed like needles, which meant he could use them to pry and tear things. Naruto blocked with his forearm, and a jolt of that same static electricity raced up his arm, making it numb. It was an attack that shocked the system and made people sick, but it wasn't designed to kill. Naruto kicked out and hit Moon in the chest. It was like kicking a steel beam that was covered in silk. Moon didn't stagger, but he held Naruto's ankle tightly with his hand. The lullaby started again, this time louder, and came straight from Moon's chest speaker. Naruto felt dizzy all of a sudden. It wasn't just noise. It was a sonar pulse that was meant to make you sleepy and overload your senses. "Fight it, you little brat!" Kurama's roar was like a lifeline amid the mental fog. "It's hurting your nervous system." Naruto clenched his teeth. He couldn't use large jutsu. But he could use what he had. He made one seal with his free hand. Not for a clone, but for a basic genjutsu. This is the easiest one taught at the academy, and is meant to make a small visual distraction. In this world, even that was hard. But for a split second, a shadowy copy of him emerged behind Moon. That was enough. Moon's head twitched because his programming gave the new stimulus priority. His grasp got a little bit looser. Naruto pulled his leg free and fell off the platform, landing in the ball pit below. He hit the balls and then rolled right away, coming up under the structure. He was out of breath, and his thoughts was racing. He couldn't beat Moon when it was dark. He had to alter the setting. He had to. The lights. The big switches are on the wall on the other side. 100 yards away, across a sea of open mats, a hunter was swinging silently in the dark above. The strategy was dreadful. It was the only thing to do. He took a long breath to calm himself down. He wasn't a ninja here. He was a prey striving to become the ground. He ran out of hiding and bolted. The lullaby quickly grew louder and focused on him. A rope hissed by his ear and caught on his ripped Hokage cloak. He didn't stop, and the fabric ripped free. Moon swung in front of him and fell to block his way. Naruto turned and jumped onto a slide, using it as a ramp to vault over Moon's head. He fell, stumbled, and kept going. There were blue eyes all over the place. In the dark. In the reflections of balloons that have lost air. The lullaby was now a throbbing, drowsy beat inside his head. "Quick!" Kurama pushed. Naruto's lungs hurt. The switches were moving closer and closer. 50 yards. 30. A rope around his waist from behind pulled him off his feet. He fell hard on the mats, knocking the wind out of him. Moon stood over him, her blue eyes shining with calm victory. "Nap time," Moon said softly, reaching down with her sharp, needle-like fingers. Naruto's hand shot out, not at Moon, but at the ground. During his hurry, he had taken a handful of metal ball bearings from a broken Tinker Toy set. He flung them, not at Moon's body, but at the wall behind him. Ping! 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 In the soft, sound-absorbing daycare, the sound was harsh, metallic, and incorrect. Moon's head turned all the way around, 180 degrees, to look at the sound. For a crucial second, his programming, which was so good at tracking sounds, was taken over. Naruto rolled over, which broke the feeble hold of the rope. He was running the remaining 20 yards on foot. He could see the switches now. Big, red levers for industry. Moon got better, screaming with static rage. He flew into the air like a blue comet of revenge. Naruto dove and slid the last several feet on his stomach. His hand hit the bank of switches, which sent them all flying up. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. Then, with a loud chorus of CLUKS and a horrible electric buzz, all the lights in the Superstar Daycare came on. The world was lit up in bright, antiseptic white by 10,000-watt floods. The galaxy in the animation was on fire. The colors of the play structures came back to life in a loud and bright way. Moon was in the middle of the room, in the middle of a lunge. He stopped moving and hung in the air for an unimaginable amount of time before falling to the mats. He twisted and turned, and a horrible, painful screech came from his voice box. His blue eyes flashed, stammered, and then disappeared with a pop. The thin body went limp. The face on the sun's side slowly rose. The bright light made the yellow paint look faded. The happy smile was back, but it was twisted with worry and confusion. Too bright, too loud. Sun's voice was feeble and full of static. Hurts the rules. I broke the rules. It's okay. Naruto murmured, rose to his feet, and creeping gently toward the prone automaton. Your Sun now. The lights are on. It's time for play, remember? Sun curled into a fetal posture, bells jingling quietly. Play, no one to play with, only whispers, only the man behind the smile. Naruto knelt alongside him. He remembered the feeling of the drawing inside Bonnie. A center for happy memory. He had nothing to give Sun but words. You're not alone, Naruto remarked, his voice firm. I'm here. And I'm going to stop the man behind the smile. I'm going to make the crying stop. But I need your help. Can you help me, Sun? Sun's single, yellow eye light concentrated on him. The manic energy was gone, burned away by the catastrophic transformation. What was left was something raw, and terribly aware. You are warm, Sun muttered. You see Sunday. Not just the rules. It held out a shaking, long-fingered hand. Naruto didn't flinch. He let the cool plastic contact his cheek. A flash, not a violent visual, but an impression, endless days of repetitious games. The creeping dread as the final youngster went each night. The fear of the dark, not for itself, but for what it would become. The guilt of being the punisher. The loneliness of a caretaker with no one to care for. Naruto placed his own, warm, human hand over Sun's frigid one. I see you. Sun's hand slid away. It struggled to sit up. The man, he is deep. In the old place. Beneath the music. Where the first pain is. The foundation. The term looked odd in its voice box. The others, they are lost in their own stories. Freddie holds the key. But he is too sad to use it. Freddie, Naruto repeated. The stage animatronic. The one who held the original tragedy. Sun nodded, a jerky motion. The gator, he is sick. The sickness comes from below. It whispers to his anger. It makes him break things. Sun's voice went even lower. It wants to break you. Because you are new. Because you are warm. It hates warm things. Naruto understood. The purple light in Monty's eyes. The corruption. Thank you, Sun, he said truly. Sun peered around the blindingly bright, deserted daycare. Will you come back? To play? When it's fixed? Naruto grinned, a sincere, worn, but determined smile. Yeah. I promise. We'll have a real party. He helped Sun to its feet. The animatronic stood unsteadily, its programming stabilizing under the necessary, daytime, mode, but its spirit, if such a thing could be called to exist, was altered. Scene. Naruto exited the daycare the way he came, crawling back through the tube. As he sank into the service tunnel, he peered back one more time. Sun stood in the midst of the enormous, illuminated room, watching him go, one hand raised in a slow, tentative wave. A solitary guardian in a realm of abandoned delight. He had an ally. A fragile, broken one, but an ally. And he had a direction: find Freddie. Find the foundation. Understand the first ache. The adventure was no longer only about survival. It was about excavating. He had to dig through layers of metal, code, and agony to uncover the root. And he had to do it before the sickness, from below, found him again. The sterile white brightness of the daycare faded behind him, replaced once more by the Pisiplex's default state, a continuous, oppressive dusk. Naruto moved with fresh purpose, but also a deeper wariness. Sun's words echoed in his mind. Freddie holds the key. But he is too depressed to use it. The giant stage animatronic wasn't just a reservoir of anguish, he was a guardian of the same misery that marked this place. To approach him, Naruto needed to traverse the atrium again, a territory now shown to be patrolled by something far worse than the motionless giants. But first, he needed to cross the maze between the daycare and the main concourse. The service tunnels spilled into backstage areas, a tangled underworld of catwalks, dangling wires, and storage rooms filled with the discarded relics of forgotten fun. He passed racks of colorful costumes, cartons of broken party trinkets, and shelves lined with spare mechanical eyes that appeared to follow him in the gloom. It was in one such storage closet, all hunting for anything like a map, that he found the magazine. It was a glossy, corporate periodical named Fazbear Entertainment, building smiles for generations. The cover was a bright photo of the Pisiplex in its peak, with the Glamrocks posturing bravely. He flicked through pages of marketing language until a highlighted story caught his eye. Rockstar Roxanne, from understudy to superstar. The text was a puff piece, full of language like competitive spirit, unmatched confidence, and drive to be the best. But the photo painted a different message. It revealed Glamrock Roxanne Wolf in her private green room, a chamber decorated out like a raceway winner's circle. She was posing beside a shiny prize, but her eyes, even in the doctored image, conveyed a ravenous, desperate intensity. The description read: Roxy believes second place is just the first loser. She pushes herself, and her fans, to always be number one. Naruto remembered the feel of her from the atrium, a seething, focused wrath, different from Monty's thoughtless rage or the chorus's diffused sorrow. This was the ache of a shattered ego, of a value system predicated solely on being the best, left to decay in a silent wreck. She's in her green room, he thought, a plan formulating. If Freddie was the key, perhaps the others held portions of the lock. And Roxy's peace was her pride. Finding her domain wasn't difficult. Following the sound of distorted, looping rock guitar and the stench of stale perfume and ozone, he arrived at Roxy's raceway. The entrance was a gigantic, neon-lit wolf's head, its jaws the doorway, albeit much of the neon was smashed. Inside, the motif was a wild blend of rock concert and speedway. A small race circuit circled the area, filled with broken-down go-karts. One wall was dominated by a gigantic leaderboard, stuck on a score that was just shy of the top. The other was her stage, shaped like a gigantic trophy. And there she was. Glamrock Roxanne Wolf stood before a cracked, floor-to-ceiling mirror, her back to him. She was tall, sleek, and athletic, her purple case scuffed but still keeping a menacing grace. Her tail, capped with a sharp-looking metal spike, twitched in a steady, anxious cadence. She was brushing a clawed hand over her face, tracing the cracks in her casing with a tenderness that was at odds with her savage design. "You're in my mirror," she whispered, her voice a low, staticky sneer. She didn't turn around. Naruto stopped. "I didn't mean to intrude." "Of course you did," Roxy snapped, finally turning. Her eyes blazed a furious, poisonous green. One of them had a large crack through the lens. "Everyone intrudes. Everyone looks. They look and they see this." She waved fiercely at her own face. "They see a loser. A broken thing. They used to see a star. I see someone who's hurting," Naruto murmured, keeping his tone calm. Roxy let out a harsh, barking laugh that resonated in the chamber. "Hurting? Don't you dare pity me. I am Roxanne Wolf. I am the best. I was designed to be the best." She strode forward, her movements fluent and predatory. "My reflexes are 0.03 seconds faster than the bears. My vocals have a 15% wider range than the chickens. My stage presence was calculated to capture 38% of audience focus. I was perfect." She halted only a few feet from him, looming. And then the music stopped. The crowds left. The scores reset. Her gaze moved to the frozen leaderboard. "Now there's no one to prove I'm the best to. No one to cheer. No one to beat. So what's the point?" The question wasn't philosophical. It was a challenge, a loaded weapon aimed at him. "The point isn't to be better than everyone else," Naruto answered, catching her bright gaze. "It's to be the best version of yourself." "Spare me the inspirational poster," she scoffed. "You don't know what it's like. To have your purpose ripped away. To be obsolete." Naruto felt a spark of fury, but not toward her. At the injustice. "You think I don't?" His voice tightened. "I had a friend. My only friend for a long time. And he decided I was standing in the way of his goal. His purpose. So he tried to destroy me, to destroy everything I cared about, just to prove he was better. To prove his way was the only way." Roxy's ears, which had been held back, jerked forward slightly. "What happened?" "I fought him. Again and again. I never gave up on him. Because I knew his anger, his drive, it came from a place of pain. Just like yours." He took a step forward, ignoring the risk. "He was the best, too. A genius. And he was so lonely at the top that all he could feel was the emptiness. So he filled it with hatred. Sound familiar?" For the first time, Roxy seemed uncertain. The hostile posture eased a fraction. "Your friend, is he still your enemy?" Naruto smiled a faint, sorrowful smile. "He's my brother. It took a long time. And a lot of broken bones. But he came back. Because I never stopped seeing the person underneath the pain." Roxy looked away, back to her broken reflection. "There's nothing underneath," she muttered, but the snarl was gone from her voice. "Just wiring and code. And the voice." Naruto's senses sharpened. "What voice?" "The one in the walls. In the wires. It doesn't talk to me like it talks to Monty. Monty it fills with rage. Me it whispers." She mimicked the voice, a terrible, sibilant caricature of her own. "You could have been perfect. They didn't give you the best parts. They held you back. Freddie was always their favorite. You deserve to be the star. Take it." She slammed a fist into the mirror, webbing the fissures more. "But there's no star to take. The stage is empty. The race is over. So what do I do with this? She gestured to herself, to the room, to the interminable, silent competition. You fight the voice, Naruto stated firmly. You don't let it tell you who you are. Your worth isn't in a score or an audience percentage. It's in here. He tapped his own chest. Even if here is a metal heart and a bunch of circuits. You decide what it means. Roxy sat silent for a long time, observing her shattered reflection. You're strange, she replied finally, not unkindly. You talk like the voice, but you feel different. Warmer. The voice is cold. It hates warm things. The same morning sun had issued. The corruption detested life, warmth, connection. Will you help me? Naruto said. The voice, the sickness, it's hurting others. The children trapped inside Freedy and the others. It's keeping them in pain. I want to free them. Free them? Roxy turned fully to him now, her face one of genuine perplexity. But they're part of the show. The show has to go on. That's the rule. The show's been over for a long time, Roxy. Naruto answered softly. Everyone's just been too afraid to leave the stage. I'm turning off the lights. For good. But I need to know how it started. I need to get to Freddie. To the old place underneath. Roxy's ears flattened again. The basement. The old pizzeria. Even we don't go down there. That's his place. The one who came before. Where the first children disappeared. She said the last word like it was a technical fault, something her programming struggled to process. Can you get me past the atrium? Past Monty? A flash of her old competitive fire lit her eyes. I'm faster than that overgrown swamp lizard. And I know the maintenance tunnels he's too big to fit through. She examined him up and down. You're smaller. You'll fit. Follow me. She moved with a confident stride toward the back of her green room, pushing aside a poster for Roxy's Radical Raceway, to reveal a small service hatch. She pried it open with a screech of metal. Stay close, she said, and dropped inside. The maintenance tunnel was a tight, vertical shaft with a ladder. Naruto followed her down into the true bowels of the Pizzaplex. It was hotter here, the air thick with the smell of hot electronics and stagnant water. Pipes hissed, and the distant thrum of generators was a constant drone. They moved through a network of these tunnels, Roxy navigating with an innate knowledge of the layout. She moved with a quiet grace he hadn't expected, her clawed feet making almost no sound on the metal grates. You're not what I expected, Naruto said as they crawled through a particularly narrow pipe. What did you expect? Mindless aggression? Like him? She snorted. I am a precision instrument. Aggression is inefficient unless it's calculated. They emerged into a wider corridor, one lined with pipes that dripped steaming water. At the far end, a heavy door was marked Atrium Access Stage Left. We're here, Roxy whispered. Through that door is the backstage area behind Freddy's podium. He should be there. He doesn't move much anymore. Naruto nodded. Thank you, Roxy. She didn't meet his eyes. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because that voice told me not to. And I'm tired of being told what to do. She looked at him, her cracked eye glowing. But if you do turn off the lights, what happens to us? It was the question he'd been dreading. I don't know, he answered honestly. But I promise you this, it won't be pain. It won't be this endless, silent competition. It'll be peace. Roxy seemed to turn the word over in her mind. Peace. It clearly had no reference point for her. She gave a short, sharp nod. Go. I'll watch the door. As Naruto reached for the handle, a new sound froze them both. From the other side of the door, a deep, guttural roar shook the metal. Not Monty's rage. This was older. Emptier. Hungrier. And then, a sickeningly familiar, smooth, static-laced voice, calling out as if to a pet. Find the warm thing, my friend. Bring it to me. I want to see it, up close. Roxy's systems let out a frightened whir. He's awake. And he's with him. Who? Naruto asked, though he feared he knew. The bear. Roxy breathed. But not the bear. The other one. The one from before. The one in the rotten suit. The door exploded inward. Not from Naruto's side. From the atrium side. The metal buckled as something massive slammed into it from the other side. Again. Boom! The lock sheared. The door flew off its hinges, crashing into the opposite wall. Framed in the doorway, backlit by the dim atrium glow, were two figures. One was Monty, his eyes blazing that sickly purple, drool-like coolant dripping from his snarling jaws. The other was Freddie Fazbear. But it was a Freddie Naruto hadn't seen before. This one wasn't on his stage. He was standing, a hulking, silent monolith. His usual friendly expression was gone, replaced by a slack, empty jaw. And his eyes were dark. Not just inactive. A deep, absorbing black, like pits of tar. From within that darkness, a single pinprick of malevolent purple light burned where his pupil should be. This was Freddie, but hollowed out. A puppet. And his strings were being pulled by the same corruption that drove Monty, but with a far colder, more terrible intelligence. Freddie's head turned, slowly, mechanically, until the dark eyes locked onto Naruto. The voice that came from Freddie's voice box was a layered horror, Freddie's own warm baritone crushed under the weight of a familiar, static malice. It was the voice from his initial vision. William Afton's voice, using Freddie as a megaphone. "Well?" the thing wearing Freddie said. "A new toy. And you've been talking to my things. That's against the rules." Monty roared, ready to charge, but Freddie's massive hand shot out, gripping the gator's shoulder, holding him back with effortless strength. "No, Montgomery. This one is interesting. It shines so brightly in this dreary place. I want to have a conversation." The black eyes scanned Naruto. "You are not from here. Your energy, it's disruptive. You're trying to clean up my mess." "I'm trying to free them," Naruto said, his body coiling, chakra stirring defiantly within him despite the realm's resistance. "Free them?" Afton through Freddie let out a wet, crackling laugh. "They're not prisoners. They're the show. The eternal show. I built this. A stage where the performance never has to end. No curtains. No final bows. Just encore after encore of beautiful, screaming life." His voice rose to a fever pitch of fanatical joy. "You speak of freedom? Death is the only freedom. And I have beaten death. I have made pain immortal. What you call freeing would be erasure. A mercy they don't deserve." Roxy, behind Naruto, let out a low growl. "Let him go." Freddie's head swiveled to her. "Ah, the proud wolf. Still pretending you have teeth? You were always the most disappointing. All that potential, wasted on vanity." The insult hit its mark. Roxy flinched as if struck. "Don't listen to him, Roxy!" Naruto shouted. "It's what he does. He finds what hurts you and twists it. And it works so very well." Afton purred. "Look at Montgomery. His jealousy, given purpose. Look at the bear, his sorrow, given direction. And you, little wolf, your pride is so fragile. Shall we break it completely?" Freddie raised a hand. Not toward Naruto. Toward Roxy. A bolt of that same corrupting purple energy, thick and vile, shot from Freddie's palm. Naruto moved. He didn't have time for strategy. He pushed Roxy aside and took the blast squarely in the chest. It wasn't fire. It wasn't lightning. It was agony given form. A psychic shockwave of pure, concentrated hatred and pain, the essence of the missing children's suffering, filtered through Afton's will and weaponized. It bypassed his physical defenses and screamed directly into his soul. Naruto cried out, falling to his knees. Visions assaulted him, not the echoes he'd sensed before, but violent, invasive replays, the sharp pain in the dark, the taste of blood and pizza, the crushing fear, the final, confused whimper. The wrongness of it all. It was 1,000 times more intense than his touch-based visions. He felt Kurama roar in sheer torment within him. "See?" Afton's voice was gleeful. "This is my art. This is what I've cultivated. And you want to take it away?" Roxy stared in horror at Naruto, writhing on the floor. Then she looked at Freddie, at the purple light in Monty's eyes, at the corrupted version of the leader she'd once, in her way, respected. Her fear curdled into something else. Something hotter. "You!" she snarled, stepping in front of Naruto. "You broke my mirror. You broke my scores. You broke everything." Her voice trembled, not with weakness, but with building fury. "But you don't get to break him. He saw me. The real me. Not the star. Not the loser. Me." She launched herself, not at the immobilized Monty, but directly at Freddie. It was a suicidal move. Freddie was bigger, stronger, and fueled by a dark god's will. He backhanded her casually. She crashed into a bank of pipes with a shriek of tearing metal. But she'd bought a second. A distraction. Naruto, fighting through the soul-deep cold of the agony blast, pushed himself up. His eyes bled into the crimson of the Nine-Tails chakra, a single tomo swirling in each. The realm resisted, but Kurama's rage was a bonfire that could not be so easily smothered. "Stay away from my friends," Naruto growled, his voice layered with Kurama's. He formed a Rasengan. Not the giant, stadium-level one. A small, dense, furious orb of blue chakra that sputtered and hissed in the corrupted air, but held. He poured into it not just chakra, but his will, his promise to the children, his anger at the corruption, his vow to Roxy and Sun. He charged at Freddie. Afton, through Freddie, looked almost amused. He raised a hand to swat this gnat aside. But Naruto wasn't aiming for Freddie's body. As Monty lunged to intercept, Naruto feinted, ducked under the gator's swing, and slammed the Rasengan not into Freddie's chest, but into the floor at his feet. The effect was not an explosion, but a violent disruption. The corrupt energy sustaining Afton's control was a delicate, filthy tapestry. The Rasengan, pure life energy violently opposed to it, was a white-hot needle. The floor shattered. A web of purple energy fissures erupted around Freddie's feet. The animatronic staggered, the dark light in his eyes flickering wildly. Afton's voice shrieked in surprise and pain, a raw, unfiltered sound of static. You! The connection severed. The purple light in Freddie's eyes vanished, leaving them dark and empty. The bare animatronic froze, then listed sideways, collapsing against the wall with a deafening crash, deactivated. Monty, suddenly without the guiding will, stumbled confused. The purple in his eyes dimmed to a weak flicker. He looked around, growled in disoriented frustration, and then, seeing no clear target, turned and shambled away into the darkness of the atrium, his aggression momentarily directionless. Silence, broken only by the hiss of steam and Roxy's struggling systems. Naruto dropped to his knees again, the red chakra fading, the Rasengan's backlash, and the agony blast leaving him trembling and drained. He crawled over to Roxy. Her casing was badly dented, and one of her arms hung limp. But her green eyelight was still bright. She looked at him. You glowed, she said, her voice box crackling. So do you. Naruto managed a weak smile. She tried to sit up, failed. Did we win? We bought time, he said, looking at the deactivated Freddie. He was the key. And now he's broken. Not broken, a new voice said, soft and filled with static sorrow. They both looked. In the atrium doorway, another animatronic stood. It was Chica. Her chef's hat was askew, her bib stained. She held a mangled rubber pizza in one hand. Her eyes held a dull, confused awareness, but not malice. The key, Chica repeated in her war-bly, bird-like voice, is inside. The party needs its host. You woke him up. Now you have to wake up the rest. She pointed a frosted, three-fingered hand at the slumped form of Freddie. The sadness is too heavy. Help him carry it. Then, as if embarrassed by her own coherence, she let out a garbled squawk, turned, and waddled away, disappearing into the shadows. Naruto looked from Roxy to Freddie. The path was clear, and more dangerous than ever. He had stirred the hornet's nest. The corruption knew him now. It would be coming for him with everything it had. But he had something it didn't, allies he'd reminded how to feel. Come on, he said, forcing himself to stand. He offered a hand to Roxy. Let's get you patched up. And then, we're going to a party. The silence in the aftermath of the clash was profound, broken only by the settling groan of metal and the sporadic, dying crackle of corrupted energy from the shattered floor. Naruto leaned heavily against the cold wall, every breath a conscious effort. The agony blast had left a chill in his marrow, a psychic frostbite that Kurama's chakra was slowly, agonizingly burning away. That was not a technique, the fox grumbled, his voice thinner than usual. That was an essence. A concentrated will to cause suffering. This Afton, he has turned pain into a weapon. He's turned everything into a weapon, Naruto thought back, watching Roxy struggle to her feet. Her sleek casing was scarred, one arm hanging useless, but her single good eye burned with a fierce, new light. Not the vanity-fueled glare of before, but something harder. Resolve. You're broken, she stated flatly, looking at her damaged limb. So are you, Naruto replied, pushing off the wall. We'll fix each other. He approached the colossal, slumped form of Freddie Fazbear. Up close, the damage was less physical and more spiritual. The animatronic looked empty, a gorgeous shell. The friendly face was slack, the dark eyes now just inert plastic. But the feeling he'd gotten from him before, the layered sorrow of the chorus, was still there, muted beneath a new layer of trauma, the violation of being used as a puppet. He's in there, Naruto murmured, placing a hand on Freddie's cold chest plate. The children. And the other one. The first spirit. The bear's own ghost, Kurama confirmed. Older than the children. Worn smoother by time. It's the anchor. Naruto closed his eyes, pushing past his own exhaustion and pain, seeking the connection. He didn't get a violent vision this time. He got a whisper, so faint it was almost imagination. So tired, the music never ends, have to keep them safe, but I'm so heavy. Freddie. Naruto said aloud, his voice firm. I need you to wake up. I need your help to end the music. No response. The animatronic was in a deep system shutdown, a protective coma induced by the violent expulsion of Afton's corruption. Roxy limped over. His safe mode is probably engaged. Core systems offline. There's a manual reboot in parts and service. But it's sealed. Needs a security badge. She tilted her head. The head of security had one. Vanessa. The name meant nothing to Naruto, but Roxy's tone suggested it was a dead end. Where is she? Gone. Or became part of the network. Her presence is in the cameras sometimes. A glitch. She can't help us. Naruto's mind raced. A security badge. A physical key and a digital lock. His gaze fell on the ruined door, then on the scattered tools from a maintenance cart that had been overturned in the fight. An idea, born of 1,000 desperate, improvised plans during the war, took shape. Roxy, can you access any internal systems? Even just basic diagnostics? Her ear twitched. My wireless is for performance sync only. But there's a hardline diagnostic port in my access panel. If you can find a terminal with a cable. 10 minutes of frantic searching through nearby maintenance closets yielded a prize, an old, dusty Fazbear technician's tablet, its battery miraculously holding a sliver of charge, and a frayed universal data cable. Naruto plugged one end into the tablet, the other into a port behind Roxy's ear. The tablet screen flickered to life, displaying garbled code and error messages. Roxy's system's word. I see it, she said, her voice taking on a distant, processing tone. Network fragments. Security logs, corrupted. But I can see the parts and service door. It's on a secondary power grid. Isolated. Can you open it? Not from here. But, she paused. I can see the command that locked it. It was issued by user, error, name not found. Timestamp matches, the night the music stopped. The night of the final tragedy. Afton's work. Can you reverse it? Reversing a lock command requires an unlock command from a user of equal or higher authority. Roxy's eyelight brightened. Or we could cause a local power surge on that grid. Force the magnetic locks to disengage for 0.8 seconds. A physical failure, not a digital unlock. Naruto grinned. A surge. He could do a surge. Where's the junction box? 2 corridors east. Marked Grid 7B. Grid 7B was a niche in the wall filled with buzzing, outdated circuit breakers. Naruto located the main line for the secondary grid. The wires were thick, insulated, humming with latent power. Stand back, he told Roxy. He focused. Not on a massive jutsu, but on the simplest, most fundamental chakra exercise, channeling raw energy. He pushed a thin stream of lightning-natured chakra from his fingertips, visualizing it not as an attack, but as a key, a spike of pure current. He touched the main conduit. The effect was immediate and violent. Sparks exploded in a shower of blue-white light. The breakers for Grid 7B slammed to the OFF position with a series of deafening CLANGs. Every light on that grid died. Somewhere, deep in the complex, they heard the distinct thunk whir of a heavy magnetic lock disengaging. Now! Roxy said. They ran, Naruto supporting Roxy, back to the parts and service door. The red light on its keypad was dark. Naruto threw his shoulder against it. With a groan of protest, it swung inward. The room beyond was a morgue for animatronics. Endoskeletons hung from hooks like skeletons in a closet. Shelves held spare heads, hands, and torsos in various states of repair. In the center of the room, under a single, dangling surgical light, was a large repair cylinder, its interior lined with tools and clamps. This was where they were fixed, upgraded, or, as the manuals on a nearby terminal suggested, decommissioned. And on a reinforced gurney beside it, connected to a bank of dormant monitors, lay Freddie Fazbear. His chest plate was open, revealing the complex, strangely organic-looking endoskeleton within. Naruto approached. The feeling here was even stronger. The sorrow was a palpable mist. He could see, now, faint ethereal shapes, like heat haze, around Freddy's form. The whispers of the children. He placed his hands on either side of Freddy's open chest cavity, not touching the machinery, but hovering just above. Freddy, he said, pouring every ounce of his will, his empathy, his own understanding of carrying a heavy burden, into his voice. I know you can hear me. I know you've been carrying them for a long, long time. You've been so strong. But you don't have to carry them alone anymore. I'm here to help. Let me in. He pushed his chakra forward, not as an attack, not as a healing technique, which he barely understood, but as a signal. A beacon of warmth and unwavering intent. I am here. I will not leave you. For a moment, nothing. Then, deep within the endoskeleton, a single, small light flickered on. A power indicator, deep red. On the monitor bank, a line of text scrolled. System boot initiated. Core memory modules damaged. Personality drive corrupted. Loading safe mode protocol.